Alright, so I've located my microphone a bit more strategically, and I'll try to run day one of our recent video on a stable SR 2010 start that involved treatment of economy and industrial manufacturing. This is the first day of about a 10-day sequence that will involve the industrial profile and the economy profile being stabilized, and we're going to critically treat military units. I have 3 transport aircraft. They're Mi-8 type helicopters, and they are capable of carrying a half unit of infantry and some half section units of artillery, other light ground units. I'll get this reconfigured so that the units are more evident. I can't remember where the what the key combination is, so I'm looking it up in the F1 help. Let's see here. This is the disk versus HUD configuration that I think I'm going to use. It'll display units in the field with a disk, and units in the field that are cordoned or garrisoned or entrenched with sufficient cover, entrenched with sufficient cover. It won't show the disk, it'll just show the heads-up display for the unit. So I've got a couple of 3 available air transports, and I've got a lot of fielded garrison units. You can see all of the individual garrison units that are currently in the field. These units are a bit heavy for the transport aircraft we have. There's bunches and bunches of them. They're distributed throughout the majority of primary population centers, and they are garrisoning those locations as a defensive force. So in case of land incursion, they can attempt to. The problem is they represent a tremendous manpower investment. So what we're going to manage here, a couple of manipulations. One, we're going to reduce the size of all of these standing units in the field. We're going to divide the units in size. There's a value. I've got my automated news parser. It just came online. I'm going to have to get this minimized out of the way here. I've got a quick regular login to Star Wars Combine that I need to do there. Star Wars Combine is an interesting little game. That's all set up on an automated schedule. Alright, let's see here. What I want to manage to do is reduce the amount of fielded manpower that I've got. I want to be able to then be able to re-implement the newly available manpower and reassign it to other units. We're not going to eliminate any of the garrison units that we're reconfiguring. We're just going to leave them in reserves and not commit the manpower to get those units into reserve. They either have to march or be moved by transport. We're going to use our air transports. We're going to use our air transports to get the fielded garrisons back to a primary military base where they can reserve at. And the manpower will be released for other units. Let's let this long sales list roll out. We're going to restructure our military profile. We haven't started our clock yet for the first day. We did initialize the clock. It's at a very low tick rate right now. The game clock I've reconfigured the game clock to an extremely low value, and when we start the simulation, the rate at which the game is ticking will be graphically evident. You'll be able to see the game tick itself, and I will more than likely opt to after the video is recorded, speed that up for digestibility. I don't think anyone wants to sit through the brutish clock grind that I usually play. So here we have an infantry garrison unit that we've split in size. Those units are now 35 units, strength units rather than the initial or default value of 70. And the size, the physical weight of the unit will now fit into our air transport profile. What we're going to do is cut the quick for some of these units. Some of the garrison units are already very near a military base. What we're going to do is parse through these military bases one at a time, check for any immediate garrison units that are located in the immediate presence of the base. We'll have them reserve. Our clock is still paused. We don't want to waste the amount of time that it takes to do these iterative widely distributed commands while the clock is running. We don't want to waste the resource profile and time. This would sound, the field order would sound like if you're within I think the hex width is 25 kilometers, the default radius of a hex is 25 kilometers. So if you are a military unit that's fielded within 25 kilometers of like these two units here, we're going to order them to reserve at that military base that's right here. And the other two units that are already present at that military base have been ordered to reserve there as well. And then we're going to go in. So the field orders would be if you're within 25 kilometers of any military base, military outpost, move to the outpost and reserve. If you are not, wait for air transport to a local air base and remain fielded in position. And we're going to get the massive manpower profile that we have out in the field back into reserves, and we're going to restructure our military. And you can see the three transport helicopters we have. They're not going to really be overtaxed. It's going to take them an amount of time to get everything done, but it's going to dramatically decrease the amount of time that those units are fielded and decrease the amount of time that we have limited reserves available. In the background you can hear a regular timer that I've got set up that's on a 2-minute timer. It's designed to keep me focused. It's easy to digress, lose track. We've started the clock now. All of the currently standing field units that are present there, a majority of them have received orders. We're going to directly control those three helicopter transports, those Mi-8 transports. We're routing them to begin transporting the garrison units back to a military point where they can reserve. I suppose not having a standing army was the initial intent of the U.S. government. That's a thing of the past. I think it was during the Civil War. I'm not really certain. Other standing orders that currently apply in relation to the units that are present involve the sale of hyper-modernized and hyper-expensive units to generate a large cash influx. Some of those hyper-modernized units cost tremendous amounts of money to operate, and they're expensive in resources and goods and supplies. It's better to have a military that has functionality and capacity and doesn't have such a violatively tremendous cost. So we're going to get rid of those real high-end, because they're just not, compared in strict terms of performance, they're just not worth it. And we're going to lose some other chaff units along the way, and it's going to push our income up. We are controlling these units by hand. The Mi-8s will be ordered to fly to the location of garrisons in the field, and then airlift them back to a base. As soon as that Mi-8 enters the hex where the garrison is located, it can be the garrison can be directed to load on to the transport. So the instant you can see the individual stepwise ticks of the game engine, the moment that transport is in the same hex, we can freeze the game engine and not lose even individual ticks of the game engine, for a more efficient, more tactically precise control of the military tactical profile. I mean, if you can avoid wasting resources, we've got our first diplomatic exchange now that's come through. That MI8 was ordered once it picked up the garrison, the fielded garrison unit, to fly back to that base and unload. So once that order was given, it automated the unloading process, and now the air transport has been ordered to move to a secondary field garrison. I'm going to walk through all of these one at a time. You saw the distribution earlier, the spider web, the green, widely distributed spider web of field garrisons that are essentially fielded along the border, primarily along the border region. There are a couple, 3 units in the interior of the country, mostly in border regions. We'll continue to walk these along, committing the same manipulation again and again. You can see this MI8 is now in this hex, and we've frozen the game engine, and now we're going to order the garrison to load into the MI8. The game engine is still frozen. I'll unpause here in just a second. And here in a moment, I'll end in dialogue and push the playback speed up to about 10x or 12x so you can see the animation. Our engine is running, and we can watch this next step in the garrison unit loading and becoming air transport for that local military base. There he goes, and this is the unload command. That's the spider web that demonstrates the distribution of the fielded garrison units. It's really far, far easier to control the tremendous number of things that happen constantly in this game by slowing the game engine down. I find it extraordinarily difficult to commit a real valid tactical manipulation in relation to this tremendous number of fielded military units. Once the garrison units have dropped off at the base, they're ordered to reserve there. Doesn't really mean an awful lot that we're getting high FPS, does it? When this game is not renowned for fantastic 3D immersion intensive graphics. I personally am very much appealed to by the graphical dynamic in question. It's all hex centric eventually. Everything is eventually gauged or measured in the game by the unit's hex location on the hex grid. We'll get this unloaded, transported and unloaded and reserved back at that base. However, aspects of the engagement profile also involve unit facing and flanking. Actions can be committed in relation to a unit's facing, and eventually when we get to a redeployment profile, when we manage to restructure our manpower into a restructured standing military, when we deploy that profile, facing programming the facing of those units will become more evident. I was thinking about trying to, I can't remember the word, I'm not really at all ordered to presentation. I think these videos should be eventually storytelling of the military engagements and tactics and strategy behind that, and not really designed to wow or impress. I think the game itself is going to manage that. I was thinking though about scripting, trying to script these videos and not just ad-lib everything. We're moving the garrisons in this region or locale here and back into that base. So I think I'm going to go ahead and we'll fast forward. Okay, so I'll slow the video back down here after or during editing. I'll start dialogue again as we're coming to the end of the first day here. I will try to post day by day, but all of the plans of mice and men will manage to transport to reserve most of the units in this little local region here. This is an area that's a little bit south of the capital, Tashkent. Tashkent is about 100 kilometers north, unless the hex sizes are 7 kilometers. I don't know if it's 7 kilometers or 25 kilometers. It's determined by the scenario that you're playing. But it's just north of that river at the top of the screen there. This is down on my my direct southern border with Pakistan. Pakistan is that gray border, and just in the bottom right corner you can see my border with India. I'm not certain what current diplomatic relations are. Pakistan, I seem to recall, has a higher diplomatic relations with me than India. I'm not exactly sure what the numbers are. I'd have to pull out my spreadsheet and look it up. I'm not terribly concerned about. I don't have real aggressive opponents right now in my diplomatic relations. They're all non-vital or non-critical. And here my clock has finally stopped, ran out. I'm just kind of set this here now, and that's the end of the first day. Our economy, the last video that I made included a 11 or 12 day stretch, a run on economic and industrial stabilization. When we start our second day, we'll be resetting our domestic consumer goods sales markup, and completing additional field maneuvers for the garrisoned units.